I never wanted to be on the methadone clinic because, you know, liquid handcuffs. Like, bitch, you're a dope fiend. You ain't going anywhere. So you know deep down if you really need to smoke the weed or to take the meds. If you're lying to yourself, deep down, you fucking know. And I know you know. Is absolute abstinence really necessary in addiction recovery? Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Hope Chase. Welcome to the shit show. My baby child, India. My little puppy child. Who the hell am I? I'm Angie, and I was a dope fiend for almost 20 years, from the age of 23 to 40. 17 straight fucking years. I did dope every single day, except for the times here and there when I was in jail and locked up. Because even when I was in programs, I still managed to manipulate my way through it and get high. Through probations, through ankle bracelets, through programs, through suboxone clinics, I still got high through all of it. So many different suboxone clinics, methadone clinics, and kicked off of all of them. And at the end of 2019, I finally was able to walk the fuck away from it. At the same time, lost both of my parents within 3 months of each other. So I've been through some shit. Today, I'm 5.5 years into recovery, and I've managed to completely change my story by completely changing my mindset and doing so much work on myself. And I share my story online in the hopes to inspire you and inspire people who might still be sick and suffering, or in their own healing journey, or in their own recovery journey, or just need a little fucking hope. I got my chapstick, I got my old lady glasses, I got my coffee, and of course my emotional support napkin, and my puppy child, India. Kind of a hot topic. Can recovery, true, real healing and recovery, even happen if you're not completely abstinent? So in today's video, I'm going to answer that question. Is abstinence absolutely necessary? So let's get into it. Like and subscribe. Addiction has really nothing to do with the using of the substances. I mean, we're on the same page with that, right? Addiction is technically a brain thing. Addiction isn't necessarily defined by the taking or the using of any kind of substance, the booze, the drugs, whatever it is. It is the desire that we all have to escape our reality. It is the inability to handle our own shit, the inability to live life on life's terms. Because listen, you can stop using the dope. You can stop drinking the booze. You can stop using whatever the fuck substance that you're using and still be addicted. Because the most annoying things about ourselves or about how we handle life stick around once we stop using. Once we stop using or drinking or doing whatever, we're still stuck with ourselves and our inability to live on life's terms. We're still stuck with the same behaviors, the same actions, the same thinking that we had the entire fucking time. So, you know, the term white knuckling it, I mean, it's valid because you're literally just kind of holding on for dear life. Like when we stop using, we almost bottom the fuck out even more, because then we just don't have the solution that we're used to. Because also too, I want to add, I only use the word recovery. I don't say sober because I'm not in AA. I was in AA 20 years ago, back when I first started this whole fucking journey in and out of AA. And I love AA. I know AA works, but I don't use the word sober. And I generally don't use the word clean either. I just say recovery because I feel like recovery is more of a word that encompasses the healing that I've done, that I'm like living in recovery. First, I'm going to talk about meds, narcotics, benzos. Can you really be in recovery and heal from your addiction if you're prescribed narcotics? For me, I don't know if I could. Only because I took benzos for years, like almost my entire heroin addiction. I took a shit ton of Klonopins and Xanax. And I would go doctor shopping and I'd buy them off the street and I would just take them by handfuls. Like, I mean, I loved fucking benzos. I mean, I do have anxiety. I do have panic disorder, but it's really not as bad as I tried to think it was. Like, I would lie to myself and tell myself that I absolutely needed to take them or else, when in reality I knew I could live without them. I lied to myself. The one thing that we're pretty good at is lying to ourselves and believing our own lies. And I believed it for a long fucking time. Now, don't get me wrong, they fucking helped. I mean, benzos help me in so many ways, but I also know that they hurt me much worse. Like, I can live with the anxiety now. Weed is something I've gone back and forth on, the subject, on whether or not you can technically smoke weed, or if you're technically in recovery or sober or clean or whatever and still smoke weed. Now, listen, I was a social worker. I was a licensed therapist. Okay. I have a master's in social work. I have a master's degree. I was licensed. I was working as a therapist, all the things. So back 25 years ago, when I was working and I had the by the book kind of thinking, if a client of mine or a friend of mine, I heard, started smoking weed after like a short period or any kind of period of sobriety in AA or whatever the case, I would kind of automatically assume that a full relapse was inevitable for that person, because I was like, oh, they're smoking weed. Like, they're going to be back using in no time, right? To their original drug of choice. But then, as I began to experience more of my own life experiences with addiction, from my own personal point of view, from my own experiences when I started using dope and became a dope fiend, my view on weed was like, or just anything really, if I could just stop using dope, then I'll be okay. Or if I could just, with the needles, because the needles have its own addiction. Getting addicted to the needle is a real fucking thing. Like, I even shot water for a while because I figured if I could just shoot something that's not dope, then I'll be okay. I was in a program and I wanted to use so bad. So I started shooting water. I mean, that only lasted like 2 days. And then I, copped dope and fully relapsed. But I really thought it was just the dope that was ruining my life, and fully intended on continuing taking the benzos because, again, I thought I really needed the benzos to survive. And the other meds that I was also taking gabapentin and other things. And weed was never really a thing for me. Throughout my heroin addiction, the only time I really smoked weed was when I was like really dope sick. Boston is where the dispensaries became kind of like legal. Some, oils and some pens and vapes or whatever. But smoking actual weed was never really a thing until, ironically enough, I came to Mexico, where the fucking weed is dirt weed and it's not very good at all. In quarantine, literally I was high 24/7 because it was how I passed my time, and I still wanted to escape my fucking reality. So the intention, the motivation behind smoking at that time was for me to escape, to pass the time, to run away, to escape my reality because I was so fucking miserable. But then as I started to heal in my own recovery journey, and I started to work on myself and change my brain and retrain my brain and change my thinking and my mindset, I started like not freaking out if I was going to run out of weed. I didn't like the way it made me feel anymore. I didn't want to escape anymore. It was starting to get in the way of my living. I realized like I actually wanted to live, and I didn't want to be stoned or baked in fucking bed all day eating cookies. It started getting in the way of my life and of me living. I stopped smoking altogether. My desire to escape started to disappear, because you always know, right? You always know deep down. I always knew deep down why I was using a substance. Nobody can tell you what your intention is. Nobody can tell you why you're using. You're the only one that knows that. So you know deep down if you really need to smoke the weed or to take the meds. You know if you're lying. You know if you're manipulating. You know if you're lying to yourself. Deep down, you fucking know. And I know you know. Let's talk about suboxone. When suboxone first came out, I'm so old. When it first became a thing, right? In Boston, it was so hard to find. And it was so hard to find doctors. I remember when they were just starting to like prescribe them, and it was like this huge thing, like, oh, it's better than methadone. And it was so hard to find a doctor that insurance would pay for, because they had waiting lists so fucking long. You couldn't get on the waiting list. You couldn't find a doctor that insurance would pay for. You actually had to pay out of pocket. But my habits were always so big, and I would buy the pills. It was like the orange octagon pills that were fucking disgusting, right? But the kicker, you had to wait till you were dope sick. Even when I started to get a little dope sick, it was still too soon to work correctly. So I'd take a piece and end up getting fucking violently ill and puking and exacerbating my dope sickness, and it was fucking miserable. So I told myself, again with the lies, that I was allergic to suboxone. I believed the lie, and I told myself that I couldn't take suboxone, that I was allergic. So that literally dictated like what detoxes I would go to. I would specifically choose detoxes that only use methadone protocols, because suboxone, I mean, honestly, it was miserable for me to try to detox with suboxone because I would get sick all the fucking time. But then I started realizing like there was a hustle in that, right? So I had to get on a suboxone clinic. I had to start getting prescribed them because I could make money off that, right? Everybody wanted suboxone back in the day. I had no real intention of taking them myself, absolutely zero. The only reason I wanted to be on the suboxone clinic was strictly for the script to sell. I had it all figured out. I bought clean urine from a friend. I'd go into my appointments and I would warm up the urine, drive into my appointment, give them the clean urine in the cup, get my script. And then as you had clean urines, you know, your scripts would get longer and longer. I'd get month-long scripts. And then I'd sell them within like the first few days of having it. I had to even go to like group therapy and individual therapy. And I literally did all the things just to get the scripts. I had it all figured out. But eventually I got kicked off I got kicked off the same clinic a few different times because I don't remember exactly why, but I know one time I had gotten arrested and ended up in jail. And I think I just like stopped showing up at the clinic. But the doctor, I remember the doctor there was so fucking amazing. He became like my regular doctor. Like you could tell that he really wanted to help people, and specifically junkies. You know, that goes a long way. But, you know, anyways, I digress. Let's talk about methadone. I've been on several methadone clinics. I think there's 3 in Boston. I mean, there could be more now, but back then there were 3, and I've been on and been kicked off of every single one of them. I never wanted to be on methadone, and to be honest, I don't even know why I started or even tried the methadone. I think I told myself that I was going to try to stop using, but just never really did, and just used the dope on top of my methadone dose. And then on top of that, I would take what's called the cocktail in Boston, where it was just like a handful of pills I would take on top of my dose and on top of using. It would consist of a benzo, usually a Klonopin, a gabapentin, a clonidine, and a couple other freaking pills I don't even know. And I would, you know, swallow those and end up being so fucked up. You know, the people that you see on like the streets who can't even fucking stand up and are like bent over at the waist, that was me. And I tried so hard not to take them while I was driving, right? I would like take a handful of pills right before I would get home. And I would spend like the day completely and totally fucked up, not even able to function or open my eyes. And that's the way I liked it. I never wanted to be on the methadone clinic because, you know, it was liquid handcuffs. Like, bitch, you're a dope fiend. You ain't going anywhere. You're handcuffed to dope on a daily basis. Like, methadone's no different. It's synthetic heroin. Like, it is so much harder to kick than the dope. I would rather kick a dope habit than a methadone habit any fucking day of the week, because I had to do it in jail a couple times. You know what? I think they actually give you your methadone dose in jail now, but back then they didn't. So literally you're in jail and it takes about 3 or 4 or 5 days for it to start coming out of your system. So you're only in the infirmary like 3 days before you go to Gen Pop. So you really don't even start detoxing and withdrawing until you're in general population and you have to like get out of bed and stuff. And I remember I lost like 25 pounds. I was like this fucking skinny. And all the other girls were calling me bobblehead doll because I was literally shaking. I was so sick. I couldn't eat. Oh, it was fucking miserable. It was fucking miserable. And then another time, when I ended up in jail having to kick the benzos, those too take a few days to start coming out of your system. And I was literally hallucinating. I was hallucinating on top of being dope sick and all the things. I was puking. I was having to be transported to freaking court every day. And I remember getting in the paddy wagon one morning. And of course, I never slept. In jail, I think the longest I didn't sleep was like 26 days, which was fucking wild. One morning we got to the paddy wagon and I was withdrawing from benzos and dope and pills. And I said to the girl that I was shackled to, I was like, oh, look at the cute baby in the front seat. She was like, bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? We're in a fucking paddy wagon. There is no baby in the front seat. And then I was like, oh, pick up the coin on the, Girl, I was hallucinating. So yeah, that was fun. But it never stopped me. It literally never stopped me because I always still had the desire to escape. The first thing I wanted to do when I always got released from jail was fucking escape the reality of the fact that I just picked up another felony and picked up another charge and my probation, all the things. And with the methadone, I didn't even bother giving them clean urine. I just gave them my dirty urine. I peed in the cup and was like, here. Like, I just didn't care because methadone was kind of like such a last resort for me. And I hated the fact that I had succumbed to the methadone clinic, that I was like, just here. And I think I subconsciously wanted to get kicked the fuck off because I hated the fact that I was on methadone. And the difference being, it's not a question of like whether or not you're in recovery and on these programs. The question is the motive behind it or the intention behind it. Like, I didn't intend on stopping using or even changing myself or my behaviors. I didn't intend on getting better, really. I just wanted a Band-Aid. I was just looking for a quick fix and everything. Like, I didn't want to do the work. I didn't plan on doing the work. I just wanted a Band-Aid for what I thought was ruining my life, which back then I thought dope was the only thing that was ruining my life. But in my experience, and especially in being in Boston, I mean, it might be different in different parts of the country or the world. Correct me if I'm wrong. But with methadone clinics, it's such a sick environment. The people are still sick and suffering. They're not doing the work. They're not changing, right? And you have to go to this clinic every single day to get your dose. You're surrounded still by sickness, by active addiction. And it's just not a healthy environment. In my opinion, you really have to separate yourself from the sickness in order to heal. It's kind of relatively easy if you just stop using. And, you probably be able to get a job and hold a job and save some money even. And it might look like you have your shit together or you're getting your shit together. And it might look like you're doing all the good things and you're recovering and you're healing. It can be relatively easy to make it look okay on the outside. But the real growth and change happens when we work on ourselves from the inside. When I don't bother changing myself and when I'm just looking for a Band-Aid and a quick fix, that's when, I would always just go back to the same behaviors because I wasn't fucking changing anything. She's having a dream. She's so cute. Usually if she's barking in her dream, I wake her up because she doesn't bark unless she's scared, like when she's awake. So if she's barking in her dream, I kind of assume that she's scared in her dream. I don't know. Is that a thing? What was I saying? So back to this whole, I thought the dope was the problem, right? I thought the dope was the problem. And then if I just stopped using dope, then, everything would be great. But the thing was that in 2019, when I did stop using dope, everything stayed miserable. I was still miserable. I lost both of my parents within 3 months, and I still was buying benzos within a week of being in Mexico. If you know my story, you know that I ended up in Mexico, and cut to today, I'm literally stranded here because I lost everything in 2020 after my parents died. But the first year I was here and I had money, I found a pharmacist within the first week of being in Mexico. It's a myth that people think you can just walk into a pharmacy and buy whatever you want. You kind of have to have a connection. So within the first week of being here, I found my guy. I had a guy. I knew a guy. I would buy benzos all the time, right? Because again, I was lying to myself and told myself that I absolutely 1,000,000% needed them and that I couldn't live without them. But in reality, I just loved the way they made me feel because they did. They fucking feel amazing. But when I lost everything and I lost my ability to make money and quarantine hit 2 months after my parents died and everything closed and I stopped being able to buy them for myself. I had no way to buy them. The pharmacy, everything was closed. So I had to kick them again. And every now and then when I had a little extra cash, anytime I would have a little extra cash, I would kind of run to the pharmacy and get a thing of Klonopins, and then I'd get fucked up for about a week. And then I wouldn't have money for a while. And then when I'd get money, I'd go back to the pharmacy and be fucked up for a week or two. And then, it was like this vicious cycle. But when I started to heal and started, actually doing work on myself, because I truly ended up wanting to change and stopping that fucking cycle and stopping being miserable all the time, when I started to heal, I realized that when I started having a little extra money in my pocket, I wasn't running to the pharmacy anymore. I realized that my desire to escape my life in general started to disappear. So is 100% abstinence really necessary? I don't even think, I think it's like, it's not mutually exclusive. Abstinence and recovery they're not mutually exclusive. The more I healed, the more work that I did on myself, the less I wanted to escape, the less I wanted to use any substance, the less I even thought about it. I no longer even think about it. It doesn't even fucking enter my brain, the thought of using anything or even escaping, because I've changed my behaviors and I've changed my thinking. And I know how to handle life now without the urge to fucking escape. If you are truly healing and doing the work, you're going to want to be abstinent. The thought of using anything isn't even an option. It's not even thought about. It's not a thing. But I absolutely think that there's like a learning curve, right? Like you can begin this journey, right? You can start like in early recovery and be prescribed something or on suboxone or whatever. And the more you heal, the more you're going to want to come off it, right? The more you heal, the more you realize that it makes you feel icky. For the using of anything or the taking of anything, it gives you an altered state of being. As I started to heal, I no longer wanted to experience that altered state. I wanted to start experiencing things without anything, which is fucking wild. I know it's fucking crazy. I can't even believe that I'm saying these words. Seriously. But I should add that there are no dispensaries here. I have nothing against weed. I mean, again, it's your intention and your motivation behind using a substance. It's the why. Why are you using something? And you know why. Like I said, nobody else can tell you why you're using something. You know deep down. So when I was smoking all the time, I knew it was because I didn't want to fucking experience my reality. I knew I was doing it to escape and to pass the time. And then I stopped for like a year and a half. But today I get really bad fucking migraines. And sometimes weed is the only thing that fucking helps my migraines. The ibuprofen, the migraine medication, nothing fucking works. So if I have a really bad migraine late at night or to help me sleep, and this is why I say, if I have access to a dispensary or like CBD for my sleep, and I have no desire to be high, right? I have no desire to use weed in the same way that I used to use weed, if that makes sense. I don't even like to experience that. I don't like smoking weed anymore. It's not something that I want to do. It's crazy too, the connection, the mind-body connection. Because I noticed that when I started to truly heal myself and my brain, my body kind of was not that far behind. My body started to crave better for itself as my brain started to heal itself. Does that make sense? Like the shit that I consume started becoming healthier, like the content that I watch or the food that I eat. I don't think it's a question whether or not you're really in recovery if you're 100% abstinent or not. It's more of a question of, why are you in recovery? Like, why did you stop using? Are you looking to just stop using? Or are you really looking to change? Are you really looking to change your behaviors and to change yourself and to work on yourself? Or are you just looking for a Band-Aid? If your intention is to change yourself and to get to the root of the addiction problem, then I think it'll work itself out. If you really intend on finding true peace and fulfillment within yourself, I really think it'll work itself out. I get a lot of messages from people who say, oh, I'm on the suboxone clinic or I'm on the methadone clinic and I know it's not really clean. Well, who's telling you that? Are you telling yourself that? Or are other people telling you that? Again, you're the only person that can tell yourself if you're clean or in recovery or not. And if you're really trying to do the work, and if you really intend on changing your behaviors, it shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody else says, whether or not you're in recovery or not, whether or not you're sober or clean or whatever word of the day that they're using. If you're really trying to do the work and to change yourself, then there's nothing anybody can say that's going to penetrate that. Does that make sense? So the bottom line and the whole point of this whole fucking video, the more you truly heal, the less you want to escape. The more you truly heal, the less you want to use anything. And there's no quick fix. There's no band-aid. There's nothing that is going to help you find the peace that you're looking for other than just doing the work. And for me, that meant changing my mindset, changing the way I think, creating a connection to something outside of myself. Changing my mindset changed my fucking life. And if I can do this shit, so can you. Trust me. So with that, I think that's all I have to say. I'll see you in the next video. Like, subscribe. Ugh. There is a huge motherfucking fly in my apartment. My freaking posture, right? My posture's so bad. My mom used to say, sit up, sit up, sit up. Now, I feel like it's so wild because I never realized how much I literally look just like my mom. Like, body, the way we stand, the way we sit, the way we drink, the way we eat, every single fucking thing. I am my mother. And I never realized it until after she died. And I remember thinking to myself, like, every reflection I would see of me standing, right? Or like in the mirror or in a window or anything, I literally saw my mom. So now it's like, and that lasted for probably the first year after she died. And now it's not as much, but I still see it. I mean, obviously I still see it, but it's wild that I never really saw it until after she died. Like, everybody would say, you look just like your mom. You just look your mom. And I'm like, no, I really don't. And then after she died, it was like I couldn't stop seeing her in my own reflection. Okay, sorry.